Okay, so we're talking about truth tables, and all truth tables are looking at different ways to organize your data, see all the different options. It's kind of like if you were to take two coins and flip them, what would be all the combinations? Tails, 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 heads, things like that. And so that's what we're working with our hypothesis and conclusion with our P's and our Q's today. So the first part of this are just some symbols that you need to represent or recognize and understand. You don't really have to memorize them, but you need to make sure that you understand. If you don't remember something, you've got to go right here and look and see what that symbol represents. So remember the little squiggle represents not. The arrow pointing to the right is like your conditional statement, if, then. The up represents and. The down represents or. The double arrow represents if and only if, like your biconditional. And then the three dots represents therefore. So when you are filling out a truth table, this part right here in green is kind of like your cheat sheet. If you are working with a conditional, like this first statement, if you see the combination true, false, that will be false, all others will be true. If you see the up arrow, which means and, your conjunction, and you see true, true, that one's true, all others are false. If you see the down arrow, the or, that's your disjunction. If you see false, false, that's false. All other statements are true, combinations. And then if you see the biconditional, the double arrow, that you're going to look for true, true. Those will be true, all others will be false. So this will make sense once you start to do it. It sounds kind of crazy right now, but if you know the symbols, this is a really easy process. So let's review our vocabulary from the last few days. So write a conditional statement in if-then form. Your conditional statement always is represented with P, then Q. That's your conditional statement. That's an if-then form symbolically. P for the hypothesis, Q for conclusion. Then if we were to take that and write the converse, remember the keyword for converse is switch, so we would just switch the P and the Q and write it like that. Inverse, we add knots, we negate it, and so not from up above we saw as a little squiggle, so if not P, then not Q. And the contrapositive is to do a combination of the converse and inverse, so we will switch them and add the knot. So if not Q, then not P. Okay, so we're going to see those down here. You can see that P then Q is right here. We can see the converse is here. We can see the inverse is here in blue. And we can see the contrapositive is there in orange. So I've color-coded it for you. Okay, so just think about all the different combinations that you would have for true and false. Well, first off, we could have true, false. We could have, sorry, I read this wrong. I've got to go back. We're doing the inverse of that. So if it's true, the inverse would be false. The little squiggle is your inverse. So what I'm talking about is right there, what I just circled. So again, another true, the opposite would be false. We see false, true, false, true. So we're just doing the opposites there. I read that wrong. Same thing with the Q's. We're going to do the opposite. So true would be, opposite would be false. False would be true. True would be false. False would be true. Okay, so what we're going to do right here is we're going to take our column of P's from right here and copy that down. So we had true, true, false, false. Okay. Then because it's a conditional, we will go ahead and put our arrows there. And then we will bring down or bring over our column of Q's. Column of Q's are right there in the highlight, so we will bring those over. So true, false, whoops. True, false, true, false. Okay? Now, because it's a conditional, we're going to go up here to our cheat sheet. We look for conditional. It's right here circled in blue. We're going to look for the combination that says true to false. That statement will be false. All others will be true. So true to false, I see right here in green. I'm going to keep my colors the same. That one would be, go back up here, false. All others would be true. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing on the next column for the converse. So we're going to start, because it says Q then P, we're going to bring over our Q column. So true, false, true, false. It's a conditional because it has the arrow. And then we'll bring over our P, so true, true, false, false. And again, because the arrow, we look for the combination of true to false. I see that right here. That one will be false. All others will be true. Okay, now if we look here, we see not P. So we're going to go to that column. If we go over here to this column right there, then we can copy that down, false, false, true, true. We still bring down our arrow for conditional. And then we bring over the not Q's, false, true, false, true. All that information that I'm getting comes from this that I just boxed in. You're just looking at whatever column it says. And so because it's a conditional, still has the arrow, we are looking for the true-false combination. I see it right there. So that one is false. All others are true. All right, last column here, we're starting with the not Q column. So not Q, we bring over false, true, false, true. Keep the arrow there. Look for the not P column, false, false, true, true. And again, we have the conditional, so we're looking for the true-false combination right here. That one is false. All others are true. Okay, so what I want you to look at is the conditional column, which is in green, and the contrapositive, which is in orange. Do you see how we talked about the other day that those were always logically equivalent? It worked out the same way on the truth table. The same column or same row ended up having the false. Same thing with the converse and inverse. Look at the purple column and the blue column. Those ended up being in the same spot also. So back on the last lesson in 2.4, we said that those combinations were logically equivalent. It's going to work out the same way on your truth table. Okay, let's do a couple examples of these, and then you're going to finish and fill out the rest of it on your own. So remember, if you see the squiggle, we do the opposite here. So if it says true, we write false, false, true, true, false, true, false, true. Okay, those four columns will always be the same. What matters is what's next. So we have to pay attention to something here, and we're looking at this. Okay, so let's go ahead and fill out our table. We're going to bring our P column, which is true, true, false, false. We're going to put the and symbol, the up arrow, and then we'll bring the Q column. So true, false, true, false. This is not a conditional statement. This is your and statement. So we're going to go back to our cheat sheet here in green. We can see our and statement right here. We're looking for the true, true combination. That one's true. All others are false. Because remember, we said that for an and statement, both parts have to be true in order to be true. So we're going to go back here. We're looking for the true, true. I see that right here first. So that one is true. All others are false. Okay, so you'll fill out the rest of this except for, let's talk about one thing. This one switches to an or, okay? So we would bring over our P column, which was true, true, false, false. Put your or symbol. Q was true, false, true, false. Okay, go back to our cheat sheet. Let's look for our or symbol. We're looking right here. We're looking for the one that is false, false. Remember, if it's an or statement, I just need at least one to be true. If they're both false, that's when you have the false statements. So let's go over here and look for the false false. I can see it right here. So that one is false. All others are true. Okay, so that's an example of an and that's an example of an or, and that's what you're going to look for. Pay attention to your symbols, what's between the P and the Q. Go to your cheat sheet, and then look for that. So let's do one more, and then you're going to finish this out for me. Let's go ahead and start with example 5. Go ahead and fill out your not column. So false, false, true, true. Other side, false, true, false, true. Okay, bring over your P column. True, true, false, false. It's an and symbol. Bring over the Q. True, false, true, false. And we did one of these on 4, but there's a reason why we need it again. So because it's an and statement, we can go up here on the previous one, right here, we looked for the true, true one. So that one is true, true, which makes that true, all others false. Okay, so here's the difference in this one. Notice how, and I'm going to highlight this in green, notice how the beginning of this is P and Q, which is the same as this. So we're going to take this column right here that I just marked in green, and we're going to transfer it on the next column over underneath this one. So true, false, false, false. That information just came from what I highlighted in green. Now my symbol is or, so we'll put that there. And then we bring over the not P column, which is false, false, true, true. Because it's an or symbol, we're looking for the one that is false, false. I see that right there. That one is false. All others are true. Okay, so sometimes you're going to have to do the previous column to do the next column and bring that over. If we look at the rest of 5, I see this right here. Whoops. So you have to do this column here to get that. Okay, so those will go together. So what I want you to do is complete the rest of it. If you get stuck, send me a